Yeah, I'm an EMT. I know there's EMTs who are on this this committee. We know that there's, and law enforcement members certainly know that we have what's in law is a 72-hour hold. If an individual is presenting with a mental crisis and they're in danger of harming themselves or others, they can be placed on a 72-hour hold for medical evaluation. There's also for domestic abuse situations. If an officer arrives at a scene and believes that domestic abuse has happened in the last 72 hours or is imminent, there's a shall arrest provision in statute. They can't issue a summons. It is a shall arrest situation. Both of those things actually address the individual in crisis, the person who is in crisis. What the red flag law does is it operates, these emergency provisions, operates under the presumption that the situation is so urgent, so emergent, we can't afford to bring this person into court, but we get a secret order, we go knock on their door, take their firearms, and then now that the firearms are gone, the situation's fine. That is an entirely false premise. If the situation is so urgent that we can't afford the person the due process provided in an adversarial court hearing, then it certainly is urgent enough to address the individual in crisis through the mechanisms in current law. We can't go into somebody's house, remove the firearms, leave all the knives in the kitchen, a medicine cabinet full of pills, rope in the shed, Ford F-150 pickup in the garage, and think that that person is now safe and not a danger to themselves or others. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The A4 amendment would delete the section of the bill that establishes a emergency issuance of an extreme risk protection order. And the case for this amendment was made artfully by Rob Dorr. And again, just to summarize, if the circumstances exist such that we're going to argue that it's really, really super duper important that we get in there and take somebody's guns because they're a danger to themselves or others, they probably need services above and beyond just having their guns confiscated and then left alone with everything else in their house and everybody else around them who they know. And so if we want to address mental health issues, we already have a 72-hour hold established in Chapter 253B. That's a mechanism that can be utilized, and we can pursue through other legislation services that will help people in crisis, as opposed to just coming in, taking their guns, and leaving the situation as if we've solved a problem.
I think the ambush part of this with the ex parte hearing is what gives me the biggest concern and what I feel will be putting law enforcement at the biggest risk in dealing with these people in the future.
Representative Pinto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just note briefly that we have ex parte orders for protection, harassment restraining orders. This is not a new concept in our laws at all. We've had these for a long time.
No, I actually had this conversation with law enforcement, and the question I always raise is, how is this dissimilar from what Representative Pinto just described? And their response was, it is not.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I would most certainly disagree with that. I mean, there's a very clear difference. I don't have a constitutional right to come within so many feet of anybody I want. So a protection order, that's something that if you're able to demonstrate with the preponderance of evidence that somebody is presenting an imminent threat or an ongoing harassing situation to someone, an ex parte order saying this person shouldn't be around that person may indeed be appropriate. But what we're talking about here is literally a constitutional right. It's the second thing on the list of things that our founders were coming up with when they were thinking, gee, how could this go wrong? Number two was the right to keep and bear arms. So if we're going to curtail it, if we're going to take that right away from someone, they should at least have the right to hear their accuser and make their case. And if we're going to judge that the circumstances are such that it constitutes such an emergency that we can't even do that, then I would say those circumstances add up to justification for placing them on a 72-hour hold. So please vote for this amendment.